Okay, so this is all being reported also by all of the feds who were there. Like, they're all standing there. Like, this judge is so dumb. There's like 6 federal agents who are going to report, like, and witness all of this. He says that the defense counsel, the lawyer for Flores, was talking to the clerk, and Flores was seated in the jury box rather than in the gallery. And the jury box is where the door is.
He took one of the TdA members' cell phones himself, took it, beat it with a hammer, destroyed it, and then walked the pieces to a city dumpster to dispose of it to protect him.
Criminal charges for another judge. This one accused of trying to help an illegal alien evade arrest. ICE shows up in her courtroom. She's got an illegal there. ICE is saying, we'd like to talk to that person and arrest him and bring him into custody because he's an illegal. She takes this dude and absconds him out the back of the courtroom. You've seen judges come in and out of those back room doors. You've seen them bring defendants in or people from the incarceration facilities in and out in the chains, in and out those doors. And there's little back halls in there, back to the chambers. And you can go in and out of the buildings that way, which is how the judges escape scrutiny, hiding in the gutters. But she was facilitating the obstruction of the federal agents who were in her courtroom, and she's been charged with a crime. In fact, she was seen fleeing the courtroom herself. The media was captured by Matt Smith over at @MattSmith_news on X, saying, new video from our crews show Milwaukee County Judge Hannah Dugan and her attorney leaving the federal courthouse in Milwaukee and not commenting at all, saying the FBI arrested her at another courthouse this morning, charged with 2 felonies for obstructing an ICE arrest last week.
Judge.
Here she is. Judge, hey, Judge.
Anything to say about this?
Judge. Where you going, Judge? Where you going? Where are you going? Don't you want to answer questions? Don't you want to be held accountable to the people? Where are you going? Why are you running so fast? Just say something. All right, so she, of course, has been charged, Judge Dugan, for helping illegals. And here is how this announcement was made. He said, just now, the FBI arrested Judge Hannah Dugan out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin on charges of obstruction after evidence of Judge Dugan obstructing an immigration arrest operation last week. We believe Judge Dugan intentionally misdirected federal agents away from the subject to be arrested in her courthouse, somebody named Eduardo, allowing the subject, an illegal alien, to evade arrest, just like the judge evaded the public. Thankfully, our agents chased down the perp on foot, and he's been in custody since. But the judge's obstruction created increased danger to the public. We will have more to share soon. Excellent work, FBI Milwaukee, for arresting the judge who is obstructing the law. Now, that was deleted, but it has been confirmed. She's been arrested, and she's been charged. You see, 2 charges against the judge, Hannah C. Dugan, brought by the United States of America, the Pam Bondi DOJ out of the Eastern District of Wisconsin in federal district court, saying on April 18th in Milwaukee in Wisconsin, this judge committed 2 crimes: obstruction and impeding a proceeding before a department or agency of the United States, and concealing an individual to prevent his discovery and arrest. Unbelievable. This one came in from Lindsay Schlomer, FBI special agent. Shout out to Lindsay. Man, it's fun to kind of cheer on FBI agents and Homeland Security agents and government prosecutors for once. I don't see how long that lasts, but here this one goes. She says, all right, look, I am Lindsay, and here, I'm a special agent of the FBI. Now, I've been employed since 2014, and I am currently assigned to Milwaukee. Now, as such, I'm an investigative or law enforcement agent of the United States, and I'm an officer of the United States who's empowered by the law to investigate crimes, and also worked as a CPA for 7 years before my employment with the FBI. So she knows those numbers. Now, I'm currently assigned to the White Collar Crime Squad, investigates public corruption crimes, civil rights crimes, financial crimes. During my tenure with the FBI, I participated in investigations involving corruption of public officials, payments, kickbacks, and more. I participated in many aspects, including executing arrest warrants and more. Now, I base all this upon my information. I refer to case agents and more. Now, I make this affidavit to support a criminal complaint charging the judge, Hannah C. Dugan, with 2 crimes. 1, obstructing or impeding a proceeding before a department or agency of the United States, and concealing or preventing an individual to avoid their arrest. Now, this affidavit is merely intended to show that there is probable cause for this criminal complaint and is not everything you need to know about it. So here we go. FBI agent Lindsay. I am aware from a review of public records that on March 18th, Eduardo Flores Ramirez was charged by the Milwaukee County County Circuit Court in case number, this number, with 3 counts of battery, domestic abuse, infliction of pain or injury. Okay, so this dude charged with crimes, battery, which is like assault, so abusing somebody in a domestic relationship, 3 counts, physical pain or injury. Now, agents from Homeland identified Flores Ruiz as an individual who's not lawfully in the United States. A review of the registration file, called the A file, indicated that he's a native and a citizen of Mexico, and that he'd been issued an order of expedited removal by the United States Border Patrol in 2013. And that this guy was thereafter removed to Mexico through Nogales, Arizona. There is no evidence indicating that he ever got permission to come back. So he already got deported, came back, beat someone up, got charged with a crime. They called the cops. They arrested him. ICE catches notice of this. They say, oh, yeah, we know this dude. Already deported. Now he's beating people. Okay, we're going to come get him. The Milwaukee ICE office determined through biometric fingerprint comparison. He comes in, fingerprint him. Yep, they go, oh yeah, we got him. And matches the same dude. We removed him before. Same guy. Fingerprint match. Got it. On April 17th then, an authorized immigration official found probable cause to believe, yep, he's removable. They issued a warrant for his arrest. They said, got him. Yeah, same guy. The warrant said, all right, illegal person, you were commanded to arrest and take into custody this warrant to the police for removal proceedings back to immigration. So there's an active warrant out. Now, upon his arrest, he would be given notice of an intent to reinstate his prior removal order. He would have an opportunity to contest this. He could make a written or oral statement to an immigration officer and everything. Okay, so if he wants to challenge his deportation judge, he's going to have due process. All he's got to do is appeal and complain, make a statement. Now, the Milwaukee ICE team was aware that on April 18th, he was scheduled to attend a hearing in his case. The hearing was set to take place in Milwaukee in front of the judge called Hannah C. Dugan, the judge we just saw, fleeing the courthouse. Based upon information, members of the ICE task force in Milwaukee traveled to the courthouse. They had the written arrest warrant in hand for the purpose of executing the warrant. FBI agent says, now I'm aware that law enforcement routinely executes warrants and makes arrests in public areas of buildings like the county courthouse. The reasons for this include not only the fact that law enforcement knows the location where the wanted individual should be, but also the fact that the wanted individual would have entered through security and will be unarmed, right? They're clear. Minimizing the risk of injury to law enforcement, the public, and the wanted individual. So as such, members of Milwaukee ICE, they developed a plan to arrest this dude outside courtroom 615 right after his criminal court appearance with Dugan. Okay, so that judge can complete her business. As soon as he walks out, ICE agents are standing there. Hey, I'm aware that 2 prior arrests in public areas of Milwaukee have happened. They were not lawfully present in the United States. They've also gotten public attention, okay? Both incidents involved individuals that had been charged with criminal offenses, but who were not in custody, but who did show up for their criminal cases. Now, I'm also aware that pursuant to its policies, which had been made known to courthouse officials, ICE was focusing its resources on apprehending these people in criminal cases and not arresting victims, witnesses, or individuals appearing for family matters or civil court. Okay, so like, you guys know we're doing this. The court knows we're doing it. We're not going after people who are delinquent on custody. We're not going after witnesses who are illegal. If you're a victim of a crime and you're illegal, okay, we're not coming for you. If you're a criminal defendant charged with a crime, we're coming for you. But anyone else, we don't care. Now, what happened was 6 members of the ICE team planned to take part in the arrest of this dude on April 15th. This included ICE Deportation Officer A, another CBP Officer A, FBI Special Agent A and B, DEA Agent A and B, and they were all dressed in plain clothes. They were going to effectuate the arrest in a low-key, safe manner as possible. They show up, okay, we got 6 dudes, we're going to figure this out. Now, at approximately 8 a.m., Deportation Officer A and CBP Officer A, they show up to the courthouse. They say, hey guys, we're here. Here's our ID to the security guard. Oh, hey, what's up guys? What are you guys doing here? Yeah, we're going to make an arrest. Deportation Officer A and Border Agent A were asked to show not only their credentials, but also their badges. Security guard says, what? You're here for what? Okay, well, I got to speak with a supervisor. Okay. They say, what? You need to check with us. Like, usually you walk right in, right? Those guys walk in. Like, oh, here's badge, security. Come on in, guys. A shift sergeant then with Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office was contacted and then spoke with Deportation Officer A. They discussed the details of the arrest. Like, oh, you guys are making an arrest. Okay, let me let somebody know. Okay, where is it? Okay, we'll clear it out. The sergeant asked that any arrests wait until after the completion of the scheduled hearing before Dugan. They said, yeah, no problem. That's standard practice anyway. So we're going to allow the court proceeding to happen. And then they were allowed to proceed unescorted outside the public hallway. So they said, yeah, just wait till it's over. The sergeant comes down, says no problem, and they handle it. So they let the feds through. The other members of the arrest team were already present in the 6th floor public hallway when they arrived, right? The other dudes just show right up. Like, oh, you're law enforcement? Yeah, come on in. Then when ICE shows up and the deportation folks show up, they're like, what's your badge? where are you here? What are you guys doing? But the other people were allowed in. They make the point. Before deportation officer A and CBP officer A arrived outside the courtroom, FBI A and B had advised the deputy that law enforcement, so FBI agents had already gone into the courtroom. They talked to the security in court. They say, hey, we're FBI, we're feds here. We're going to arrest this dude. They displayed their credentials to the courtroom deputy. Deputy's like, okay. So then the deputy informed him that they were going to arrest Flores. They agreed that the arrest would take place after the appearance. The agents then left the courtroom, took positions at different locations in the hall, staking it out. Case agents have interviewed the courtroom deputy present on April 18th, and they corroborated the above information. Okay, so this is all being reported also by all of the feds who were there. Like, they're all standing there. Like, this judge is so dumb. It's like 6 federal agents who are going to report, like, and witness all of this. The courtroom deputy had opened the doors to the courtroom at approximately 8:15 and reported that individuals began checking in for a list of matters scheduled that morning, because they handle sometimes, dozens of matters in a morning, and they just go through the list. So all the people waiting outside, click, doors open, go in. The courtroom deputy had received a list of individuals appearing that day. The deputy checked in defendants. Okay, we got who's next? Everybody gets checked in. The courtroom deputy explained that at 8:15, FBI agents advised they were working with ICE and they were going to arrest Flores. The courtroom deputy asked that the agents wait outside. So attorneys go to the clerk. The courtroom deputy checked in. So then the courtroom deputy they advised him that. The courtroom deputy then asked the agents, okay, you guys go wait outside until after the hearing. So everybody's checking in. Agents go up, talk to the dude. Okay, 8:15, we're here. Agents agreed, we're going to leave the courtroom. The courtroom deputy then told the case agents that after an ICE arrest in the courthouse earlier that month, a shift sergeant had asked the bailiffs to alert a supervisor if ICE agents were in the building. So accordingly, the courtroom deputy notified the shift sergeant. Don't know if it was the same person as before or not. So then arrest team members reported that while waiting outside the courtroom, a woman approached and took photos of the arrest team members. And a lot of these gangbangers are doing that. They're like, the ACLU gangbang lovers are all taking, you're from ICE, taking pictures and trying to shame them for protecting the country. DEA agent B, who was inconspicuously seated away from the group, was not photographed. The individual taking the photographs of the agents has been identified by multiple witnesses as an attorney employed by the public defender's office. Wow, that's bold. So team members observed Flores arrive on the 6th floor of the courthouse at 8:43. He was greeted by his attorney, and maybe a different attorney than attorney A, but was greeted by his attorney. They entered the courtroom together. So then they're in the courtroom. Session's happening. Witnesses have described Judge Dugan's response to learning of ICE's presence. And they're trying to figure out where everybody is. And so they're in the courtroom now. For example, the courtroom deputy indicated that when Flores arrived, Judge Dugan already was on the bench and conducting proceedings, because they go through a bunch of different matters. Okay, who's next? What's that? Continuance. Okay, you got this problem. What's that? Taking a plea. Okay, let's do that right now. Go through a bunch of them. The courtroom deputy observed attorney A, the same attorney who had photographed the agents, enter and approach the clerk. Attorney A stated that there appeared to be ICE agents in the hallway. Attorney A then told the clerk where the agents were seated and what they were wearing. Wow, who is this attorney? She's reporting on the feds. The feds are here. We got to do something about this. The courtroom deputy reported that the clerk then got up, talked with Judge Dugan. Judge Dugan became visibly angry. What? This is absurd. They're here in my courtroom? For what? She then left the bench and entered the chambers. At the time, the illegal, Flores, was seated in the gallery of the courtroom. He has no idea what's going on, right? Another individual, attorney B, who was working as an assistant DA in Judge Dugan's courtroom, was there. According to attorney B, there were approximately 8 criminal cases. So this would be a prosecutor. Okay, so the other attorney who was ratting out the feds was a defense attorney. The same one who was taking the photos was a defense attorney, but attorney B is a prosecutor, and they should both be in there because these are criminal matters. So one at one desk, one on the other desk. According to the prosecutor, there were approximately 8 criminal cases, including Flores's, scheduled for pretrial hearings that morning. Attorney B was aware that the victims for the Flores criminal case were in court. So multiple victims. She's beating everybody. And the prosecutor is going to be interfacing with the victims, right? He's like, well, I got to run this deal by them. So they showed up. They're freaked out. While the prosecutor was busy preparing the morning docket, the prosecutor heard someone announce, ICE is here. Shortly thereafter, attorney B, the prosecutor, heard Judge Dugan say she was going to call the chief judge before she left the courtroom. So then members of the arrest team, they reported the following events after Judge Dugan learned of their presence and left the bench. Judge goes haywire, gets up, storms out. I'm calling the chief judge. So Judge Dugan and Judge A, who were both wearing judicial robes, they came out with their cloaks on and they approached members of the arrest team in the public hallway. They said, oh, a defense attorney notified us that you're here. Judge A's courtroom is located adjacent to Judge Dugan's courtroom. Witnesses uniformly reported reported that Judge Dugan was very visibly upset. She had a confrontational, angry demeanor, screaming. And I've seen judges like this many times. Judge Dugan addressed Officer A and asked Officer A, deportation officer, for if you were present for a court appearance. Are you here in my docket? What are you doing here in this courtroom? Do you have business here today? He said, no, I don't have any business in your courtroom. Judge Dugan stated, well, if you don't have business in my courtroom, then you need to leave the courthouse, this judge. Oh, you're not here as a witness or a matter here? Then what are you doing here? Then get out. Officer A stated, no, actually, we're not going anywhere. We're here to effectuate an arrest in your courtroom. So go back into your little bench and do your business. Judge Dugan asked the deportation officer, oh yeah? Do you have a judicial warrant to arrest him? Deportation officer said, no, I have an administrative warrant. The Judge Dugan reported and she said, well, your administrative warrant is not going to be good enough. You need a judicial warrant if you want to arrest somebody. I don't recognize your warrant. The deportation officer said, well, Judge, I am here in a public space right now and I have a valid immigration warrant in my hands. So I will be making this arrest. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Your Honor. Judge Dugan says, let me see the warrant. I want to see it. And the deportation officer said, yeah, no problem. Let me get it. I'll show it to you right now. Then Dugan, the judge, still screeching, demanded that you speak with the chief judge. Well, you need to speak to my supervisor, my chief judge. Then Judge Dugan went over to FBI agent A, turned her, did the same thing. FBI agent B, she went over to CPB officer A and he did the same thing. He's like, this judge is nuts. After finding out that none of them were present for a court appearance, do you have any matters here today? Are you a witness in any court proceedings today? No, we're all here with ICE. We're going to arrest your defendant. Judge Dugan said, well, this is unacceptable. You all are ordered to report to the chief judge's office. You cannot be here in this courtroom. And then she dragged them out over to them. So then Judge A then escorted members of the arrest team away from courtroom 615 down the hall through a set of double doors towards the reception area for the chief judge's office, right? So two judges were standing there. Judge Dugan was the one screaming. Then DEA agent B, who was not recognized by Judge Dugan, there was that one dude seated off to the side, and Judge A, as being part of the arrest team, he remained behind, right? So this other dude is like laughing. He's like, oh, they got busted. They're going down to the principal's office, but he's going to make the arrest solo. He's like, I'll just house myself. I'll get this dude. So the courtroom deputy then reported observing a portion of the above described events in the hallway, right? Shout out to this courtroom deputy and to the prosecutor, all these people reporting this, like, yeah, this judge went nuts. According to the deputy, shortly after Judge Dugan was advised of ICE's presence, the courtroom deputy left the courtroom to look for an unrelated document, whom the courtroom deputy was seeking to arrest for an open warrant. The courtroom deputy saw Judge Dugan in her robe in the public hallway, telling one of the federal agents that he needed to go to talk to the chief judge. And this courtroom deputy, like, who knows, but he might like hate this lady. He's like, this lady's like crazy. She's miserable constantly. He's like, yeah, here's what happened. Let me tell you everything. Judge Dugan appeared visibly angry, was walking quickly, waddling. As soon as the agent entered the chief judge's vestibule area, the courtroom deputy saw Judge Dugan walk south down the hallway, and she entered a locked door near courtroom 615. Now, I'm familiar with the floor plan for the 6th floor, says the FBI agent, and I believe that Judge Dugan led to a non-public hallway from which she could access her courtroom and chambers. Yeah, and I've been back in and out of these things many times. Come on back to the chamber. Come on back. And it's it's interesting. It's all set up and there's secret hallways inside and out. A lot of them are kind of crammed in there. They're like all remodeled with just cramming a bunch of offices back there. So they do. So then DEA agent B, who had remained in the hallway but had not yet been recognized as a member of the arrest team, was seated there. She thought, I led them all this way, reported that Judge Dugan walked around the hallway and appeared to be looking for additional agents before she returned to her courtroom. Okay. She walks out. Is the coast clear? She comes out the secret hallway, looks around. Are there any other federal agents? She misses the one dude who had left behind. She thought she got them all out. Once inside the office of the chief judge, deportation officer A showed Judge A his credentials. Says, yep, I'm ICE. Yep, here's the warrant. Here it is. Judge A asked the chief judge's clerk, oh, can you make a copy of this? Is the chief judge available? This is kind of thing. Copy this. The clerk said, well, no, he's actually not in the building right now, but let me check. Actually, he's on the phone. Like, got him on the phone. He's not here. He's on the phone. At that point, Judge A left and deportation officer A went inside more of a private area in the chief judge's office to speak with him on the phone. In these buildings, there's these little conference closets kind of everywhere. So during their conversation, the chief judge stated he was working on a policy which would dictate locations within the courthouse where ICE could safely conduct this. He's like, well, here's our plan. Like, you're doing an arrest right now? Well, okay, we're literally like in the middle of a policy. We really don't know what to do. The judge emphasized that such action should not take place in courtrooms. Like, well, no, of course not. Or other private locations within the building. Like, no, we're in the hallway. That's fine. Officer asked about whether, well, how about the hallway? Like, we're just going to get him in the hallway. That's our plan. He said, well, Chief Judge, yeah, the hallways are public areas. And he said, well, the Chief Judge says, well, let me talk to the ICE ERO management about this policy, and we'll get this dialed in so we don't have to go through this every time, the judge says. So, all right, yeah, no problem. Deportation officer says, no problem. Yeah, I'll give you the contact info for ICE, and yeah, we'll be happy to work with you. Whatever you guys want to do, just tell us where to come get him. We'll come get him. Just ship him over here. We'll come get him. We don't care. So while deportation officer A was speaking with the Chief Judge on the phone, trying to facilitate and do their jobs, DEA agent A and CBP officer A and 2 FBI agents waited outside the vestibule area, right outside the judge's office. DEA agent, one of them, departed the area after a short while. Now, Judge Dugan's courtroom deputy, meanwhile, then approached the remaining arrest team members and stated the courtroom deputy was not the one who notified Judge Dugan about their plans. Wow. So the courtroom deputy walks up to the feds and says, listen, fellas, I didn't do it. And they were like, didn't do what? I didn't tell the judge about any of this, but the judge is doing something. So you guys should know. The courtroom deputy also made a comment. He says, this judge has been pushing this case through anyways. Okay. She's been like racing this through. So this deputy hates this judge. He's been the courtroom deputy for like, who knows how long. He's like, she's a mental case. She's crazy. She's going to try to do this. She's trying to push this case through, which the arrest team interpreted to mean that the Dugan judge was trying to expedite the hearing, right? So that you guys can't come get him. He's like, she's trying to push this through so ICE doesn't catch wind and you guys can't get him. Now, multiple witnesses have described their observations after Dugan returned to her courtroom, after directing members of the arrest team to the chief judge's office. So she walks them out, goes out of her courtroom, checks to make sure the coast is clear, comes back in. The courtroom deputy recalled that upon the courtroom deputy's return to the courtroom, so that guy's coming out, alerts them, comes back in. He says that the defense counsel, the lawyer for Flores, was talking to the clerk, and Flores was seated in the jury box rather than in the gallery. And the jury box is where the door is. So the gallery is by the front door. And you've seen how courtrooms often are, kind of like big squares. And I don't think I have enough room to really draw anything useful here. But generally what you'll see is like, if it's a square here, and you've got the courtroom that kind of looks like this. Let's say the front doors are right here. You'll often have kind of the bar, which is here, and there'll be a little door right here where the attorneys will walk through. But the gallery, most of the people are sitting in these benches here. Even the defendants, right, are here. You'll often have the defense table right here. You'll have a prosecution's table right here. The jury box will be right here. And the back door for the jurors to come in and out will be up here. You may often also have a judge's door right here, and the judge's bench will be like this. So the judge is sitting up here. So then what they did is all the agents are sitting like out front, right? This is the hallway. This page break is right where the hallway is. So they're coming in and out, and the defendant is originally seated in the galley. So we'll just put dude right here. And the judge, the court deputy, is coming in and out of the courtroom. So they move him over into the jury box. Oh, so he can make a quick getaway. So as soon as the coast is clear, she'll just shove him out that door. She'll also join him, and they'll go back out the back hall, and the judges can just get the hell out of there. So then the court deputy believed that the lawyer and the clerk were having an off-the-record conversation to pick the next court date. So, okay, we're just going to continue this, is what they were saying. What is the conversation? We're not going to do anything here. We're just going to postpone it, come back in 15 days, 30 days. ICE won't know, and more. Then what we see is that defense counsel and the defendant, so the lawyer and Flores, they then walk toward each other and toward the public courtroom exit, right? So probably out the front. Now, the courtroom deputy then saw Judge Dugan get up and heard Judge Dugan say something like this: "Wait, come with me." Now, despite having been advised of the administrative warrant for the arrest of Flores, Judge Dugan then escorted Flores Ruiz and the lawyer out of the courtroom through the jury door. Okay, so they moved him into the jury box and then shoved him right out that door. Leads to non-public areas of the courthouse, and the agents are not going back there. They're not allowed, or wouldn't be allowed without permission. These events were also unusual for two reasons. First, the courtroom deputy had previously heard Judge Dugan direct people not to sit in the jury box. It's for the jury, or you'll put your in custodies in there. Second, according to the courtroom deputy, the guy who ratted the judge out, only deputies, juries, and court staff and in custody defendants being escorted by deputies use the jury door. Defense attorneys and defendants who were not in custody never use the door. You never do. Yeah, unless the judge is inviting you back for some reason. It's like special reasons, and sometimes it's not good. Attorney B similarly explained, this is the prosecutor, that after returning to the courtroom, Judge Dugan forcefully motioned motioned the defense attorney for Flores and a male that she did not know, attorney B had never met Flores, to approach. All right, you guys, please approach. Hey, come up here. The judge, come up here. The defense attorney appeared to be confused. Like, what? By the judge's gesture, but complied. The judge is like telling the defense, this is so wild. Judge Dugan commanded the attorney and the male to leave through the back door of the courtroom. The prosecutor then saw the judge escort the attorney and the male through a non-public door near the jury box. And thereafter, Dugan came back to the courtroom and conducted hearings, escaped them out, came back to the bench, finished the morning docket. Later that morning, the prosecutor realized that Flores's case had never been called. The prosecutor's like, wait, it's on the docket. What do we do with this case? Like, it's on the list. Attorney B, the prosecutor, learned the case had been adjourned. He goes, what? You didn't even ask for my position on that. You just moved. It was scheduled for this morning. You just adjourned it. You just continued it to what? This happened without the prosecutor's knowledge or participation. And that attorney was there on that date on behalf of the state. He was the prosecutor. The judge just continued it without even talking to counsel, even though the victims were also present in the courtroom. Now, I don't practice there. I'm not licensed in Wisconsin, but I'm sure there are victims' rights laws and victims' bill of rights that would say that's a problem. So this judge, was protecting an illegal alien who beat, allegedly, some people who were there in the courtroom seeking justice, and she got him out of the courtroom to avoid being captured by ICE. Didn't work out. It's so criminal, man. And it's unethical and monstrous behavior to do that when the victims are in the courtroom, okay? A judge. The victims are in the courtroom. Now, a victim witness specialist who's employed there was also present. The victim witness specialist made contact with the victims in the case. They were sitting there. The witness specialist was unable to identify Flores based upon their reactions to the presence in court, but the specialist observed the judge gesture towards Flores and an unknown Hispanic woman. So the specialist stated that she believed the Hispanic woman may have been an interpreter. However, based on the description of the women and the other statements, I believe the Hispanic woman was the attorney. And so the specialist, I guess, I can't believe doesn't know who the specific victims were, but doesn't, right? Maybe there were multiple victims. Stated that Dugan then exited through the jury door with the Hispanic woman. So her statement is, yeah, he left with someone else, probably the lawyer. Now, the specialist was concerned because the case wasn't called yet and the victims were waiting. Now, unable to identify based upon the reactions to his presence in court. So I don't know if the victims don't really know who he is. I don't know what kind of a battery this was, but interesting. Another attorney who was in courtroom 615, also to represent another client, also advised case agents that he observed Dugan and other attorneys. This is why this is so weird. It's like everybody knows what's happening in the courtroom. Everybody's watching the judge because we're all waiting for our cases to get called. We're all like, how much longer do we have to sit here until you call our case? Everybody's there. It's packed. Forcefully said, direct two individuals, a man and a woman. The judge says, get out of here. Attorney C indicated this was done with a stern tone. She's like, get out of here. So then Ruiz makes it out of the courthouse and runs after leaving the judge's vestibule and returning to the public hallway. So then he is out the back side door, runs out, has to return to the public hallway to leave the courthouse. DEA agent reported that Flores and his attorney were in the public hallway. So like they saw them, like, oh, damn, there they are. DEA agent B also observed Flores and his attorney in the hallway near courtroom 615 and noted that Flores was looking around the hallway. He's like, oh crap. From different vantage points, both agents observed Flores and his counsel walk briskly toward the elevator bank on the south end of the 6th floor. Now I'm familiar with the layout over there, the 6th floor, and I know the south elevators are not the closest elevators to 615. And so it appears that his attorneys elected not to use the closest elevator because that's where the agents would be. He's like, let's use these other elevators. No one uses these. DEA agent followed Flores Ruiz and his attorney towards the south elevator bank. This attorney must have had just adrenaline pumping through her. She's like, oh, it's so crazy. At approximately 8:50, DEA agent alerted other members of the arrest team that DEA agent was on the elevator with Flores Ruiz. While on the elevator, Flores and his attorney spoke to each other in Spanish. They're on the elevator with the agents. DEA agents at 8:50, Agent A says, hey, other members, I'm on the elevator with him. While on the elevator, they're talking to each other in Spanish. I don't speak Spanish. They exited the elevator on one of the bottom floors of the courthouse and used the 9th Street public exit to leave the building. Now, having received the above reference information from Agent A, who was on the elevator, like, oh, we're coming down here to the 1st floor. Other members of the arrest team scrambled to locate him. So then they raced to the floor. DEA agent B and FBI agents A and B took another elevator down to one of the bottom floors of the courthouse, quickly exited the building onto 9th Street to see if they pop out. DEA agent A notified the team that Flores Ruiz was in the front of the courthouse near the flagpole. Oh, up there by the flag. Agents ran towards the front of the courthouse. Agent B and A approached Flores, said, "Are you Flores?" Identified themselves as law enforcement. Flores turned around and sprinted down the street. He's like, ah! A foot chase ensued. The agents pursued Flores for the entire length of the courthouse, ultimately apprehended him on the intersection of W State Street and 10th. Not that fast there, amigo. Flores Ruiz was handcuffed and detained at 9:05 a.m. or 22 minutes after the arrest team first spotted him at the courthouse. FBI agent team communicated to the surveillance team that Flores Ruiz had been arrested. Deportation officer A and others were notified that he was in custody while they were still inside the courthouse speaking to the chief judge on the phone. What a scandal, man. So they're still getting duped. The chief judge is like, keep him on the line as long as possible. Let's let this dude get out of here. Defense attorney helping to facilitate that. That defense attorney's in some prickly water as well. I don't know if you can say that she knew about the warrant or maybe she was just, I'm just trying to get him to his next appointment. But she's running him out of there. Man, this is a bunch of bad actors. So conclusion, based on the information above, I believe I've got probable cause to charge Judge Dugan with violating the law. And absolutely 100%. You know, I've been in many courtrooms for a lot of time and I can visualize how it happened exactly just like that. And she did it. She knows what she did. She did it intentionally. She tried to come up with some legal justification. She intentionally tried to manipulate them, get them out of the way so she could free the dude. And it's a pretty sick thing to do when you think about it. She had victims sitting in the courtroom and she had an illegal alien who was wanted by the federal government. We're in the same country, lady, and tries to obstruct the investigation. She's hit with 2 felonies, concealing an individual to prevent his discovery and arrest and obstructing an agency in the United States. So good stuff there. We also see this was filed and she was arraigned today. She had her initial appearance and here's what happened. So today, coming out of the courtroom, Eastern District of Wisconsin, you see they gave us this update saying, all right, here are her release conditions telling us not violate law, must cooperate with DNA samples, must advise pretrial services before changing your phone number or your residence, must appear in court as required, and must sign an appearance bond and acknowledgement of the defendant. You're advised of the following. So make sure you understand this, district judge signing this off in a federal prosecution. That's the part of Wisconsin that the Eastern District covers. Now, we also saw they rescheduled this for her preliminary hearing and her arraignment and her entry of a plea of not guilty, no doubt, on May 15th, 9 a.m. She was advised of her rights today, did not need an interpreter. Looks like she's got an attorney, Craig Mastanano. We've got very short hearing, was 4 minutes, took place today, 10:30 this morning, out of the Eastern District of Wisconsin. Maximum penalties for this puppy: 1 year imprisonment on count 1, 5 years imprisonment on count 2. The government says, they're going to indict her, booty. So they're going to present this to a grand jury at a later date and she'll come back and be indicted. So right now it's just a criminal complaint, the one that we read, but they'll come through, they'll formally indict her. And right now, not seeking detention at the moment. So the defense protests the arrest, does not object to the release. She was released on her own recognizance. And we just read the order setting release conditions, which were basically standard. So Democrats were out there today after she got arrested. They were saying, look at these people. Oh my goodness. So they were out there, no justice, no peace, all sorts of stuff, a handful of them. All right. So they were outside the courthouse, very upset about it. We saw several news reports that were shocked when it was all breaking. But the big, I think, conversation was clipped over via our friend Charlie Kirk, captured the entire conversation of Pam Bondi explaining what this case is about. So let's listen to what Pam Bondi had to say about this latest arrest of a corrupt judge trying to help illegal aliens flee the courtroom when they're wanted by federal officials who have a valid warrant, and there are victims sitting in the courtroom demanding justice. Pathetic. Here's Pam.
So rare for victims to want to cooperate. They wanted to cooperate. They were sitting in the courtroom with the state prosecutor. The judge learns that ICE was outside to get the guy because he had been deported in 2013, came back back in our country, commits these crimes, charged with committing these crimes, victims in court. Judge finds out. She goes out in the hallway, screams at the immigration officers. She's furious, visibly shaken, upset, sends them off to talk to the chief judge. She comes back in the courtroom. You're not going to believe this. Takes the defendant and the defense attorney back in her chambers, takes them out a private exit and tells them to leave. While a state prosecutor and victims of domestic violence are sitting in the courtroom.
You know, Madam Attorney General, great to have you here, and thanks for coming back on America Report. So we remember these words of Tom Homan, the border czar. This was March 17th, and his message on these judges who apparently are trying to get in the way of this administration's efforts. Listen.
I'm proud to be a part of this administration. We're not stopping. I don't care what the judges think. I don't care what the left thinks. We're coming.
So when you see these judges trying to obstruct your efforts to make this country safer, what is your message to them?
We are going to prosecute you, and we are prosecuting you. I found out about this the day it happened. We could not believe, actually, that a judge really did that. We looked into the facts in great depth. That's her picture up on the screen, Hannah Dugan, who is now in custody. You cannot obstruct a criminal case, and really, shame on her. It was a domestic violence case of all cases, and she's protecting a criminal defendant over victims of crime.
In fact, she just had an initial appearance in court. There's also this other case coming out of New Mexico. Judge Joel Cano and his wife were arrested for harboring a TdA member at their home. The alleged TdA member had been picked up by law enforcement, and now he and his wife were picked up and arrested. And you say that you believe, as the Attorney General, that the person that they were having living at their home was a truly potentially bad individual.
Yeah, that's the judge up on the screen now who got arrested. Yeah, his name is Ortega. He is a known TdA member. So he comes through Eagle Pass December 2023. He's living in our country. January 2025, ICE, they get a tip. Tom Homan's done a great job. Our FBI did a great job on this case, too. They get a tip that he is living with a judge and the judge's wife. So they have him arrested first on immigration charges. A Judge Damian Martinez releases him saying that Judge Cano has a good BS meter and wouldn't let just anyone live on his property.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the associations with this violent Venezuelan gang, Tren de Aragua, and this person that they harbored in their home, he was showing signs through clothing, we were told, tattoos. There was evidence through voice messages and text messages of his association to TdA. So what charges will Cano and his wife face, if any?
So Judge Cano, soon to be former Judge Cano, his charges were just unsealed. He's charged with obstruction. He is charged, he admitted post Miranda. He took one of the TdA members' cell phones himself, took it, beat it with a hammer, destroyed it, and then walked the pieces to a city dumpster to dispose of it to protect him. The wife also is charged with destroying evidence. Sandra, not only that, this TdA member, and he had on a necklace that said kill, something about death. He had tattoos all over him. He also had on his cell phone pictures of two decapitated victims. Victims, decapitated, gruesome photos. And he was sending them out, and whoever he was sending them to was sending back saying, hey, you need to be careful. You shouldn't be sending these. You shouldn't be texting these photos out. Not only that, the judge and his wife gave him assault rifles that belonged to their daughter. That's what they're charged with. In the criminal report affidavit, he goes to a shooting range with these assault rifles, with a suppressor, with other known TdA members, and they're shooting. This is the last person that we want in our country, nor will we ever tolerate a judge or anyone else harboring them.
Let me, if I could, Madam Attorney General, come back to the Wisconsin case and Judge Hannah Dugan, because in allegedly letting the perpetrator and the attorney out through a non-public exit and allowed them to get out in front of the building, we had a situation where we've seen that I know Tom Homan was complaining about in Colorado, where there would be no transfer of a defendant from a jail to ICE custody on a detainer request in a way that was orderly and protected public safety. They would dump them off in a parking lot, and then ICE would have to chase them around with the DEA or whatever, or FBI, and pick them up. This ended up in a foot chase in public sight. It says here, a foot chase ensued. The agents, and this was a DEA agent and an FBI agent, pursued Flores Ruiz for the entire length of the courthouse, ultimately apprehended him near the intersection of West State Street and 10th Street. So the judge apparently has created a situation here where you have a public foot chase. And we all know that while sometimes they can come off without incident, they can also turn into very dangerous situations.
John, that's exactly right. She put the lives of our law enforcement officers at risk. She put the lives of citizens at risk. A street chase, which is absurd that had to happen. But yes, she put a lot of of people in danger. That judge did it. So did the other judge, Judge Cano. They were allegedly giving him assault rifles, AK-47s, AR-15s, with a suppressor, a known TdA member, letting him go to a shooting range to refine and perfect his shooting skills.
Madam
What's
Attorney
happened to our judiciary is beyond me.
Yeah, so
It's true, our judges are a little problematic these days. These two judges now charged with crimes, and we're hopeful that other judges don't break the law. We expect and demand more of them. But for some reason, many of them have been acting like they're above the law, like they can do whatever they want. They don't have to follow federal law. And obviously, that's not the case anymore. So hopefully this is a message to many of the other judges out there who are certainly engaging in similar behavior, thinking that they are above the law. A reminder that they're not. No one is above the law. We got lectured about that from them. Even though they perverted the justice system, now we have an actual enforcement of the justice system. Don't take illegals out of your courtroom and obstruct federal agents, and you won't be prosecuted. Now, the left will screech about this for days to come, but the facts are there. Thanks for sharing the video so other people can see what this judge actually did. We'll keep our eye on this case. Thanks for subscribing and joining as we do.